So in the last video, we saw how we can use data collection rule for logs, VM insights, change tracking and inventory and metrics. And in this video, I'll show you how to collect custom text logs from a Windows virtual machine using data collection rules. So in a real world scenario, we are going to take a very basic example that we have an application that basically write logs in a file and we want to collect it, right? And that log file will contain all the detailed information, how is our application is behaving, like we can see errors and all other details, right? So for this we need a workspace and a virtual machine. Workspace is where our data is going to be sent, and virtual machine where we are going to have that particular logging file. Then the next we are going to have an Azure Monitor agent that will get installed on the virtual machine, and a data collection endpoint. That is basically when created, we get a dedicated endpoint from where the ingested data from the virtual machine will be sent. Then we have is a table and DCR. So the table will get created in the workspace, and then we will need to have a DCR. And then after these three steps, we are going to generate logs from the virtual machine and check that on the workspace, right? So the step one will create a log analytics workspace. So we are in the Azure portal and we'll search for workspace, append analytics, and then click on create. And we'll give the subscription, and the resource group will create new, that is rg-cloud demo, and we'll give the name custom log analytics workspace, then the region central India, and next review and create. Meanwhile, the workspace is being created, we'll create the virtual machine also. We'll give the resource group cloud demo and then the name Windows VM and the same region central India, and availability is on no. Then the image will select Windows, and then I'll fill rest of the information. And we'll need a RDP to create the log file and then add data. So we'll enable the RDP port, and then we'll go to next disk and then standard STD. And also I'll enable the public IP to get the access of the VM. Next management, we'll leave as it is. Next advance and review and create. So we have created the workspace and the virtual machine, and the agent will get automatically installed when we'll add the virtual machine to the data collection rule in the step 3. We'll create a data collection endpoint which is necessary for custom logs ingestion. So for that, we'll go back to portal and then search for data collection endpoint and then click on create custom data DCE, and we'll select subscription and resource group. Region will keep same, Central India. Next tag and review and create. So we have the VM workspace and the data collection endpoint. And now the next step, we'll need to have the data collection rule. For that, we'll search for data collection rule or DCR and click on create custom log DCR, and then the resource group and the region same as the resources. And then platform type we'll select all, and the data collection endpoint we already created, I'll select. And if it would have been another region, we would not see the data collection endpoint, right? Because it's specific to the region where we created. In this case, we have it for Central India. And if you hover over this, we'll see that the data collection endpoint is optional for collecting Windows event logs, Linux syslog, or performance counter. And for all other data sources, it is mandatory. So we'll select which we created and then next resources. And in add resources, I'll add the virtual machine, Windows VM, and then next collect and deliver. So in the data source type, we'll choose first random performance counters. I'll go to basic and then just select CPU. Next destination, I'll select the logs and the workspace. So this is not required, but before using custom text log, which we are going to test here, table name needs to be already created in the workspace. And that's why before the data collection rule creation, I'm using this. So I'll cancel and next tag and review and create. Right, so DCR is already created, and now we'll create a table where my data is going to get stored. Before creating the table, first I'll log into the virtual machine and create the log file inside. For that, I'll go to virtual machine and then copy the public IP. So I'm successfully logged into the virtual machine and then I'll open the PowerShell. I'll create a directory in the C drive and the logs folder, and then create a file under logs folder, that is app.log. You can think that you have an application and that writes to this specific file for all the logs data. And I'll paste the random data and then save. So now we have the custom data that we want to ingest from this virtual machine. And next thing is to create a table in the workspace. We'll head over back and go to custom log and then go to table and create, and we'll give the table a name that is going to be app logs, and you'll see that we have the -cl that is going to be automatically appended to this particular table name, and the plan will leave as analytics. Next we have is a data collection rule, so we'll choose which we already created, and then the endpoint associated to the DCR is already selected, right? We'll go to next, and in here we have to upload a sample file. So this basically gives the schema of data which is going to be ingested from the virtual machine, and also we can apply the transformation whatever data we have ingested. For this I'll go to upload sample file and I'll show you the sample file how our data is going to be. We have the data being the row that is going to be the info, and then the login success which matches with this information. That is, we have the information, what kind of error it is, and then the log. And we also have the time generated, which is going to be automatically created later on. So now we'll upload this sample file, and it's automatically going to append the time generated, as you can see here. And in the transformation editor, you can see it has already added time generated. So we'll close and then next and then create. If you see the pipeline, we have the workspace and VM, agent and endpoint also. Agent automatically got installed when we enable the performance counter. And then we have the table and data collection rule. Now what is left is to create a custom text data collection rule in the DCR. So for that, we'll go to the data collection rule and then custom log and then data sources. Data sources, we have the custom table which already created. We'll delete. And now next we'll go to add and then custom text logs, and then we'll give the file path where we just created the log file, and then the table also that we created, and this will leave as it is, and the transformation also. Next destination, it's going to be the workspace where our table is, and then add data source. So now you can see the custom text logs is created as a data source, and shortly we are going to see the data. So now let's wait for 5 minutes for the data to get ingested, and meanwhile we can go to the virtual machine to see the agent is there. So if I expand and go to extension and application, we have the agent already installed. Agent is going to pick the data and then through the DCR is going to send to the destination. And now to check that, we'll go to workspace, then the table. We'll copy the table name and then the logs. We'll do one more thing. We'll generate live logs. So we'll go to the virtual machine and then to the PowerShell, we'll run this. And one more thing which I found, that data collection endpoint is not configured for this machine, which needs to be there. So I'll click on this edit data collection endpoint, and then we'll add the one which we created and then save. And now let's wait for some time for the data to get reflected. We'll do a refresh and we can see the endpoint. Now let's go to the workspace. And now you can see the data in the custom table. So logs take around 5 to 10 minutes to appear, and only the new log entries are collected. And this is the complete end-to-end setup for collecting custom text logs using Azure Data Collection Rules. Give a like and subscribe if you like this video, and see you in the next one.